water and sewer, and $700 million for abandoned mine lands. These are investments that are desperately needed in West Virginia. We've been fighting for these infrastructure improvements for years. Unfortunately, we haven't had the funds. Now we are going to have significant funds to rebuild West Virginia. We're so excited about it. This was a bipartisan bill. It was supported by Congressman McKinley, Senator Capito, and Senator Manchin. And we thank them all for that. And Senator Manchin in particular has played a key role in ensuring that we get these funds back here in West Virginia so that we can rebuild our state. And so without further ado, we are honored that Senator Manchin is joining us here today to talk some of these details about this exciting news for West Virginia. Senator?
Stephen, how you doing? I got you. I can hear you.
All right, great. Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your good work. You want to share with us some of the good news?
Well, there's so much to go over. You know, we passed it on Friday. We've been working on it for months and months and months. It truly is. This is one of the most important pieces of legislation that we've done. I'll tell you the reason why. We've done an awful lot on both, you know, Republicans and Democrats working together. But then everything's kind of gotten tribalized, if you will, the tribal mentality, and things have come a little bit more difficult to come by as far as progress. But bipartisan infrastructure has been tried for the last 30 years, and no president's been able to get it done. It's unbelievable. We have the normal spending. We have our highway bills every year. A certain amount goes into highways and bridges. That's, you know, $350 billion a year. I mean, that's normal. But we had nothing that dedicated itself towards the deferred maintenance that's been going on for years and years and years. We see it all over West Virginia. We have one of the worst bridge conditions of any country on a bridge as far as the healthiness or wellness of the bridges and the safety for our citizens. So an awful lot was needed. We came about this and working on it. We started 5 months ago. There was 5 Democrats and 5 Republicans. We worked on it together. Then we grew to about 11 Democrats and 11 Republicans. And Shelley, my colleague Shelley Capito was with us on that, working with us. We all worked together. And we put a piece of legislation together working with our Republican friends. We wish we could have done a lot more, but we did more than has ever been done in history. This is the greatest construction or road maintenance and repair ever since the interstate highway system in the 50s. It gives us a chance to get broadband all over rural America, especially rural West Virginia. As you know, we need it desperately if we're going to be able to grow our economy and compete in the 21st century. Most importantly, grow our state and diversify our state where people can live in any part and work and be able to provide for themselves and their family and bring more resources and more investments to the state of West Virginia. When all is said and done, the way this breaks down and the way the funding mechanism is broken down, the amount of money we put into this bill, the state of West Virginia should be in the $6 billion area of getting money coming towards it over this period of time. $6 billion, and that's unbelievable. The amount of money the state's already received, billions of dollars, you know, and I hope people don't think that it's something that has been done or just an amorphous that the state has done, but basically it's been the federal funding that has propped up about every state in the nation to a certain extent through this pandemic. So, and that's what it was intended to do. That's what government does that nobody else can do. Private sector, when things get like this, they'll retract. We have to invest, and we've done that. Now it's a matter of do we invest it properly when we come back home. So you have about $3 billion, Stephen, that's going to go towards federal highway programs. Okay, then we have another dedicated about $200 million right to Quarter H, the Appalachian Highway. We've got to get that one finished. We've been working far too long on that. It gives us a chance to get that across the finish line, I think. So we had about, for bridge replacement, protection and some construction of new bridges, an extra $506 million on top of the $3 billion for the roads. There's the state transit, statewide transit. Most of our larger communities are going to get money. We get $190 million for statewide transit in West Virginia. We've never had that type of an infusion of money to get our transit system up and working. for the citizens. And then we have a breakdown of all the states that get our airports are going to get 43 million for the airports. Then you have energy and natural resources programs. The big one here is abandoned mine lands, $700 million for abandoned mine lands. This is all tremendously needed in our state. And this is like pre-SMACRA, the old stuff that got left abandoned years and years ago. We have a chance to go back and reclaim those and put the land back in its normal contour. We're back in more productive use. But every one of the jobs that we create, Stephen, is going to be paying prevailing wages, Davis and Bacon. These are top-notch jobs. And this program goes on for 8 to 10 years. It's not like a gimmick where we fund it, we got raised funds for 10 years, but we only did the program for 2 years. That's notorious on both sides. Democrats and Republicans have done that for years. This one is truly all the way through. But broadband deployment grants to states. Our broadband is going to be almost $600 million. $600 million. If we don't get connected this time, we'll never get connected. And I'm hoping that you all, working with your colleagues in the Senate and the House, have a program of how this is going to be dispersed. The same way with your highways. Pick your worst, most heavily trafficked, most dangerous highways. Pick the bridges that are most heavily trafficked and the most dangerous that need repairs. Start with the worst scenario that your citizens of our state have maybe a chance of getting caught in a bad situation. And let's prevent that first. There should be a systematic way we approach this, not just throwing money at it, thinking that's going to cure it, because this will run out too. Clean water and state revolving funds, 176 million. Then you have drinking water, state revolving fund is another 112 million. And then you have for lead pipes and PFAS and all the different problems that we've had for water contamination, almost 200 million. So we put an awful lot to the basic needs of water. Good potable water is going to be clean, and the pipes should not be lead. We should be able to remove some of the oldest lead pipes we have in our state. Just an awful lot of good things that I believe that everybody, and this was passed in a bipartisan way. We had 19 Republicans and all the 50 Democrat senators voted for it. And I'm very proud of that. And it was a lot of hard work, but it finally got done. The president has it at his desk now, and I understand he's going to have a signing ceremony when we go back on the 15th. So that'll help us give us a jump start on what's going on. But that's just it. We're going to send this out, and everybody should have it. But I want you all to know, and I want all of our Democrat and Republican colleagues, everybody. I appreciate you all taking the initiative right now to make sure the citizens know what to expect, because this is based on the formula of how money's divided among states. And this is as close to accurate as we have. It might change a little bit. If anything, we think it will change, especially on the abandoned mine land. We think we're on the low side of 700 million. We think that could go over $1 billion. So we think that there's an awful lot of work to be done. There shouldn't be a person in West Virginia that wants a good job and is willing to work and make top-notch wages that won't be able to have a job.
That is all excellent news, Senator. We're so excited about this. Like you said, folks have been trying this for 30 years. Y'all have gotten it done, and it's such good news for West Virginia. And you mentioned, we want to try and get the word out to the public and make sure folks know what's in this. We've got our members had a couple questions that we'd like to ask you so we can try and understand this a little bit better, if that's okay. And I think you mentioned jobs, and I think Senator Lindsay had a question for you about jobs. Is that right, Rich?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, Senator, how you doing?
Hey, Richard, how are you, buddy?
Thank you for your service and your work on this. I know this has been a long time coming. I know you have put infrastructure and the needs of West Virginians top priority for several years, and it looks like that work's paying off. And I really do appreciate that, Senator. You had mentioned something about jobs that I think is important. So this $6 billion bipartisan investment in West Virginia, the expectation is that it'll create good paying jobs for the next 8 to 10 years. Is that what you said?
Yes, correct.
All right. Well, good.
How we did that part of the bill, AML, and then also there's going to be a tremendous investment in plugging the old orphan gas wells to prevent the leakage of methane. That's going to be another mammoth program. And I think, let me tell you what that program does. We got Wes here. Okay. The AML program, like I said, is going to have close to $700 million coming to West Virginia. And I think just abandoned wells was 100 or 200 million in that neighborhood. We haven't gotten the exact score on that yet, but we're in that neighborhood based on how the formula works, and we'll get it exactly. But we're going to give you all a breakdown. But the thing we did in the bills that I worked, we did everything through. We wanted the good paying jobs. We didn't want someone coming into West Virginia, bringing labor from outside or taking advantage. We have a lot of coal companies. We have a lot of gas companies in West Virginia that I am hoping diversify because they have the expertise. They know where the workers are, and they know the workers they've had to lay off in West Virginia. They can bring them back when maybe they're not drilling as robustly as we would like in certain areas. They can go over and do the work that we're going to have for 6 or 8 years. I think it's a tremendous opportunity to keep full employment. And when we're going to be reimbursing at Davis and Bacon wages or prevailing wage, that's the top wage scale.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Good paying jobs that'll take care of people. And you mentioned plugging wells. I know Senator Ellenfeld has moved on to the U.S. Attorney's Office, but that was an important piece of legislation on the statewide level and that we tried to pursue as a caucus here. So I'm glad that you've taken up, or I know you've been working on it, but that's part of the package that we'll see, because there are a number of wells that need to be plugged and a number of people that need to take care of it. Thank you, Senator.
Well, you're welcome, buddy. Hold on. Let me just tell you, I hope airport times will serve. Where you have that?
It's on the back.
Yeah. Please provide. I see all of that. Okay, guys. I'm sorry, Richard. I was just checking, make sure on that. Rural surface transportation, but we have a lot of block grants coming. There's just a lot of stuff in here. But like I said, this one runs for 8 to 10 years, and that's the difference of anything else we've done. Stephen, to all of you, I don't know who all's on the line, but people were asking how's it going to be paid for, and I've heard all these different types of things. We've taken money that was unused through all of the COVID package. You know, we've put out over $5.5 trillion since last March, trying to keep the economy from faltering or falling into a recession, trying to keep a health crisis becoming a major health crisis that would be hard to recover. We put so much investment towards that I think that we prevented that from happening. Could have overcharged the market. When I say overcharged it, we might have put a lot out there that's basically causing inflation now. So I'm very much concerned about that. We're watching that very closely. But there is enough. And to put things in perspective, I just told you in the US Senate, federal government, we put over $5.5 trillion in that period of time. And when this one is signed, 1.2, we'll be close to $7 trillion in a little bit more than a year and a half. Now, to give you a perspective of what was done for that type of money, if you take World War II, the United States was involved for over 4 years. In World War II, we saved the world, if you will. Also, we had the Marshall Plan that rebuilt Europe. If you put both of those together in today's dollars, if you were paying for them today, it'd be 4.7 trillion. Just to give you an idea of the enormous scope of this, of how much is out there. So that's why we have to be very careful. The other thing is paying for it. We were using monies that just didn't go out the door on other items, and just for whatever reason, we took those monies and were able to use them. People are saying, oh, yeah, but you have a deficit here. It wasn't quite paid for. We had a problem between both sides. When we started negotiating, Republicans did not want to raise the rates, the tax rates. The one thing that all Democrats, whether they were conservative or liberal, all Democrats in both the Senate and the House voted against the tax cuts because we thought they were weighted to the high-end earners. So we thought we could change that. Our Republican friends felt differently on that. They also, and we also felt that we could hopefully put conventional infrastructure, Richard, has usually been paid for because of highway taxes, basically gasoline, hasn't been raised for years and years. They talked about that one, but the other one that everyone seemed to agree on, but the White House would not accept it, was the mileage tax for electric vehicles. Since they're not paying for gasoline, they're still using the same roads we all are. So they would have to pay on mileage, how much mileage on an annual basis, which everyone thought it was fair. But the president made a pledge, anybody under $400,000, there'd be no tax increases. I just disagreed with the White House on that one. I thought that was the most fair way to do it, since basically gasoline vehicles are still paying a gasoline tax. Electric vehicles are paying no road tax. I thought that was unfair. So with that, we had to make some compromises, but I'll tell you, this bill is a one-time investment, hasn't been done in 30 years, and it's going to take 8 to 10 years to complete. You can't do all this work in a couple of years. So it's going to have long legs to it, and I think it's going to be a tremendous economic builder. And people says you have dynamic growth. Dynamic growth means if you make these investments, is it going to help the economy where you will have more growth than normal? And I think the dynamic growth will happen with this piece of legislation as people see the improvement in their internet connectivity, which is a tremendous business builder. And then on top of that, the ability to navigate, if you will, get in your car and go places that's safe and get there quicker. I just think there's so much good.
Thank you, Senator. I think a couple of our members have some other questions for you. And then I
Sure.
know we've got
That's
members
fine.
of the media on with us, and we'll get to y'all as soon as we can. Senator Stallings, I think, had a question about coal-impacted communities. Doc Stallings, are you there?
Yes, thanks. And thanks, Senator, for being on
Hey,
here.
Doc, how you doing, buddy?
Good, buddy. Yeah, I mean, again, the coal fields, particularly Southern West Virginia, we've had such a downturn and we're so highly impacted. And some of the money, you know, you have to, there's thoughts you have to come up with 20% match and things like that. And, you know, I've seen that there's not been a whole lot of technical expertise down this way as far as being able to apply for these grants and things. So any thoughts on how we can help turn around such a high areas of Southwest coal fields of West Virginia?
Well, Doc, first of all, the southern coal fields have been impacted probably more than any part in the country as far as energy transitions. Now you got the coal mine jobs coming back because of the high demand and the high prices of coal. You're probably seeing more activity today than you've seen in the last 10 or 20 years. I don't know if any of your old mines are coming back or if there's new mines opening up or if they're just, you know, basically played out. But I can tell you there's more activity now than ever. But with that being said, we know that we've had a tremendous transition going on. There's money coming directly into coal areas, and it'll be used that way. We're going to be helping from our office, making sure that you all qualify. And also we have the hard areas, the hardship areas. We've got to see if we can get a waiver on reducing some of the copays. Like you said, 20%, maybe we get it to 10. And sometimes when we're trying to develop something that would be very, very helpful in reinvigorating the economy, get it down to either 5% or 0. We're trying everything possible that we can to direct this money, but we know there's over $300 million coming just out of the Department of Commerce. Gina Raimondo, she's the secretary and she understands it well and she gets it. And then also the Department of Energy has money directed towards that. The big thing is, Ron, what we're trying to do is I've told them, I said, you know, if there's new transitions coming on, new types of technology, give us a chance, bring a factory. Don't just bring me a promise and say, if we do this, we're going to do this. We need to see real jobs. I said, whether it's windmills or solar panels or whatever, we can build everything. But I think our niche is going to be in the hydrogen area. We're trying, and I think that we're going to get a hydrogen hub in West Virginia to where we're going to be a major producer of hydrogen. That's going to be a clean fuel of the future, but it's also here right now. It's been around forever. We just never dedicated ourselves to it. So hydrogen is a place we can go. And all that type of work should be done in the areas that got hit the hardest, which is down south.
Thank you. And again, rare earth elements. I mean, there's
Oh my,
yeah,
that's a
we've
big
got
one.
a lot of potential, but again, those long lasting investments that you talked about before, where you can have ongoing jobs into the future. Coal miners are excellent workers, as you know, and can be trained up to do other types of manufacturing. So I'm glad to hear that. I appreciate you.
Well, I think really the tax base is what we're looking for too, for the communities to still stay vibrant and stay alive. But the job opportunity, yeah, we just need the workers. We got to make sure that we have the workers and they know they can live right there, wherever they are, whether it's in Boone County or any of our counties south, but be able to have a good quality of life with a good paycheck. And really this AML money, the abandoned mine land money, sealing the old wells. There's an awful lot of money that's going to give a lot of companies a kind of a variety of what they can offer and how they can supplement their incomes too. And that's going to be big. But I see a lot of opportunities. I have people looking at solar farms right now on mined out areas, which could be tremendous. But here's the thing about it. We're going to have fossil for quite some time. But I've said the technology that it would take for the whole world to be able to use what we can use and what we can develop would be tremendous and should be manufactured and produced right in West Virginia. That's the thing I'm pushing for also.
Senator, one other quick question. Can the AML money be used somehow for some of that 20% match so that you can magnify its value?
Yeah, usually I've always looked at that, but you can't use federal dollars to match federal dollars. That was the problem we had before we ran into it. We tried that one. The best chance we have an opportunity to show the hardship and how much revenue has been lost in the areas because of the transition of the downturn of the energy market, Ron. And if we do that, then we can get waivers. And I think a hardship waiver is our best chance of getting it done quicker. And I think it meets within the guidelines that they can identify hardships.
Thanks.
Were there any other members of the caucus that had questions for Senator Manchin? All right. Were there any members? Pardon, Senator?
And anybody else on there that you can see that wants it?
I don't hear anybody else that wanted to
Well,
ask
here's the
any
thing. We're going to
questions
be
about
sending,
it.
Stephen, we're going to be sending things out, but this is something I'm telling all of us in this caucus right now that we're talking to is on there. Guys, take this and run with it. $6 billion more coming to the state of West Virginia. And all the communities got a little bit of money the last time. I'm hoping they're getting their money. They'll get a second tranche of it the first of next year. But $6 billion coming in so many ways for West Virginia: public transits, highways and bridges, airports, energy, as far as we just talked about, wells and abandoned mine lands, broadband deployment. There shouldn't be an area of our state that's not connected. Think of it this way. In the 1930s, if FDR becomes president and he says we're going to have rural electrification, every house is going to have electricity. If they could do this in the 1930s, coming off the Great Depression, and we can't get everyone hardwired or get everyone broadband in the 21st century, shame on us. Just shame on us. And this is a time to do it. But we all have to have a plan. Any of the counties or towns that do not have an internet plan, they should contact, and Stephen, contact you all, and you all should have working and hold the broadband council, hold them accountable. Show them that they should have a plan. There's other areas of our state that are doing quite well in broadband. Other areas aren't. They don't have the expertise. But the state working with the federal government, we can get the FCC and all the different people helping on that to get our state wired up. This is an opportunity we cannot miss. Water and sewer, if you've got water problems or sewer problems or old lead pipes, this is the time to get rid of them. Qualifies for all that money. Okay,
Amen.
guys, we're here for you all. That's all I can tell you. We'll help you, and then you can call, and you got Andrew Robinson in my office. That he'll get right there and make sure you get all the needed information and all the help we can give you.
Thank you so much, Senator. We have some media questions, but I believe you have to go at a certain point. I don't know if we're at that point yet. Do you have time for media questions, or do you need to head on?
Sure. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Who's on?
I think Steve Adams had a question first, and then Annie Moore next.
Okay.
Yes, Senator Steve Adams, Ogden Newspapers here.
Hey, Steve, how you doing?
Good to see you, Senator. Obviously, this bill was a bipartisan bill. You had a number of Republicans to help negotiate this along with you and other colleagues in the Democratic caucus. I mean, it passed bipartisanly. Some of these negotiations were based on some of the earlier negotiations with U.S. Senator Shelley Moore Capito. And of course, it passed bipartisanly with 13 Republicans in the House.
In the Senate, it passed with 19 out of 50 Republicans, 19 voted for it, and all 50 Democrats.
Right.
It would have never happened bipartisan if the Democrats and Republicans hadn't worked together.
I
And
guess if I could break in for a second, though, I guess my question in regards to all that is, McKinley was a yes vote from our delegation. It had no vote from Miller. It had no vote from Mooney. Mooney's already tried to kind of beat McKinley over the head with the vote, trying his
Let
best
me
to
tell
tie
you
this
one
to
thing.
the, yeah,
The
yeah. If
people
you
of
could just talk about that.
The people of West Virginia need to thank David McKinley to have the courage to do what he needed to do for our state. That's his purpose. He's there representing it. You tell me an area of the state, whether it be in McKinley or in Mooney or Miller's area, that doesn't need road, bridges, broadband, doesn't need all the help that would have, doesn't have AML, abandoned mine land property needs to be reclaimed, that doesn't have wells that need to be capped. You tell me an area of West Virginia or any one of those districts that doesn't, and you tell me another opportunity they're going to have like this. I don't know how you can explain that. David McKinley needs to have a lot of praise for going against the grain because, you know, and President Trump tried to get this done. He couldn't get it through. And we were able to get this through. Doesn't matter who the president is. When you have a chance to pass infrastructure, and infrastructure has always passed almost unanimously in the past. Now it's become a weapon, a political weapon. That's crazy. And for Mooney to try to use this against David McKinley, oh, I think that's going to reverse and hurt him so bad when people know what he voted against in his area that needed help. David McKinley voted for all of West Virginia, including his district.
Thank you, Senator.
Sure thing.
I think Annie Moore was up next, and then Mark Cram.
Good afternoon, Senator. We're hearing conflicting reports about how much the Coalfields Expressway was funded. On one side, we're hearing it was funded for construction all the way to Virginia. On the other side, we're hearing just $500,000. Do you know what the accurate number is?
Well, here's the thing. A lot of that, Annie, is going to be going 3.76 billion to the state highways and bridges. So the state's going to have a lot of input and putting the highest priority. And you know, I've talked about Coalfields Expressway and King Coal Highway. Those are things, if we're going to ever revitalize southern West Virginia to give it a chance to come back in all its glory, they're going to have transportation. We're going to get connectivity now with broadband, and we can get that done. But the state's going to have the highway department's going to have their priorities, and I have not had a chance to converse with them, but I know we have a new gentleman there. It seems to be very good, and we're reaching out to him, so we'll be able to give you a better idea of what they have the highest priorities of how they're going to use their money.
Then Mark Cram, and then Mark Curtis.
All right. Good morning, Senator Manchin. Good morning to our state elected officials as well.
Hey, Mark, how you doing?
I'm great. Good to see you. You're looking fine there. I'm assuming that with this federal funding, there's going to need to be state dollars or local dollars. And maybe this is more of a question for our state representative.
Yeah, to a certain extent, Mark, there will be. There's always going to be a certain amount of matches, but some of these matches have been very, very low because of the things we're trying to repair. It's different when you want to build and your maintenance. You know, the state's always responsible, and they should be. Every state should be held accountable to make sure they're investing in the infrastructure that our states need, all states need. But with it, this is basically trying to catch up on deferred maintenance that has been let go, Mark, for 20, 30 years. And that's, you know, I mean, you can put the blame anywhere you want to put it, but the dollars weren't there to do what we're doing today. There's a commitment. I don't know if we'll get around in our lifetime to see this happen again, but I want to make sure we take advantage of it. That's for sure. But I told him here, our little state's been hit harder. We're the only state that had a downturn in population. We're a state that got hit the hardest as far as with the transition of energy. But they'll look at all those factors, and if there's a situation where we can't match, and the state still has a lot of money it can match. You know, we have that infrastructure. We made part of that, the money that we shared the last 1.3 trillion. Billion, I mean, that came out to the state, 1.25, 1.3. State can use its share to match down also. It has money. State still has a lot of money from the federal government that it was sent twice. They got 1.25 way back in March or April of last year. They got another in this past December. They got another I think it was close to 1.3 or more. So that's $2.5 billion that we've sent. And the state has flexibility to use that. I would hope they use it wisely and use it where the match is needed.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mark.
I believe Mark Curtis, and then Paul Mullen was the last question.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Senator Manchin.
Hey, Mark, how you doing?
I'm good, doing very well, sir. I did some research on this. The last major infrastructure bill passed in this country was back in 1991. It was called the ICE-T Act, the Intermodal Surface Transportation Efficiency Act, 30 years ago.
George H. Bush.
That had the original funding for the Coalfields Expressway in it. What assurances do you have that we're not going to be left holding the bag again? I mean, 30 years to complete a highway that was funded back in 1991, and to a lot of people, that's just unconscionable that something could drug out that long.
Yeah. Well, Mark, no different than what we have for Corridor H. Look how long that's been, since the 60s. And we might have enough horsepower to get it done this time. We're making every effort that we can. Coalfields Expressway is the best. It's the one that can help us the most, and we can do more quicker than any other road we have going down south, which comes off the Beckley area and goes right down in the southern coalfields. And then King Coal Highway is another one which we need to commit ourselves to. The state, I don't know how they're going to direct their monies. A lot of it has state. State will have preference over that, the state highway program, but over 3.76 billion is going to come for just bridges and highway. And most of 3 billion is for highway improvement and repairs and construction. So I haven't seen the state's breakdown yet. I know Bird White was there. Bird's retired now on senior status, but the new gentleman, I have not spoken to him yet, left a message. We're going to help any way we can if they need that directed, but I agree with you. It needs to be done. It's something that needs to be done if you're going to help us out. That's for sure. Okay.
And then final question was Paul Mullen.
Good morning, Senator. Good morning, everyone.
Paul.
Can you talk a little bit more about Corridor H? Does this do anything directly for Corridor H? And what kind of challenges do you think can be met in the next couple of years to get that road done?
Yeah, there's 195 million directed to Corridor H. That's the Appalachian Development Highway System. And I think most of that was right for Corridor H. I don't know how much the state is putting in. That's quite an expensive from Davis down the road there to hook up. It's probably one of the most expensive stretches we have left. But this, we're hopeful this will take us either all the way or most of that, so we could finish in pretty quick time. Like I said again, this comes way back from the 60s when we had the Appalachian Regional Commission and we had the Appalachian Corridor and John Kennedy when he became president. And here we are, 60 years later, still fighting it. So it's time to get it done. Time to finish it.
Thank you.
Well, Senator Manchin, we can't thank you enough for your time. We can't thank you enough for your good work. This is
Senator
such
Baldwin,
exciting news.
do I have an opportunity to question?
Oh, Kenny, I'm
Kenny?
sorry. I didn't know you had your hand up. Go for it, Kenny. As long as the
Senator-
senator's got time.
Senator,
I'm
real
not.
quickly, what was your level of frustration when this thing was tied to the social services infrastructure bill, and how relieved are you that those things have finally been uncoupled and it got passed?
Well, I'm very much relieved because I thought they should have never been coupled up. We've never done that in my hit that I've been there 11 years. Kenny, if I've ever seen anything. I've seen people play games back. We're going to hold this bill unless you move this bill or this or that. But to say we're going to hold this bill unless you pass another bill, usually all you've ever asked for sometimes when people are looking for leverage is give this other bill, look, it's a good bill, please look at it and let it go through the process. They were demanding that we signed off and basically committed to vote for something we hadn't even seen in order to get something that had been worked for 5 months. Made no sense whatsoever. So finally that log jam was broke Friday, and the Black Caucus over there, I think Jim Clyburn and that group did a magnificent job of saying, hey, here's what we want. We're going to go ahead and we're going to get this bill passed tonight. That was last Friday. And we're going to basically pass the rule that lets you move on to the reconciliation bill in the House side. And we want to have a score before we vote on it. Well, that's going to take a week or two, and that's fine. That's what it should be done. And then people can make a decision. Do they support all of it? They need to work it further to get it more in line with something they can support. They were circumventing all of that and just shoving it right through. And we have shoved so much through right now. I think we got to be cautious. And I've told them I'm still in the camp. There should be a pause, Kenny, because we really don't know what this inflation is going to do to our economy. And I can tell you with winter coming up, we're expecting higher heating bill prices and things of that sort. The gas prices at the pump aren't going down. People are spending more to go to work, and they're spending more for the food that they have to buy on a weekly basis for themselves and their families. So everything is increasing right now, and we need to see what inflation is going to be doing. And it's not going to be transitory right now. It seems like it's going to be more of a challenge we have to deal with. Kenny, when's the last time you've seen, or I've seen in my lifetime, that we're going to be paying Social Security, the cost of living increases almost 6%? We haven't seen that for a long, long time. I can't remember when. I'm sure if someone Googles it, we'll find out the last time we paid 6%. And I want to say this too, Kenny. You know, 6 of the what they call the squad, the real far progressive liberals, 6 of them still voted against the bill in the House. And if it hadn't been for the 13 Republicans siding up with I think there was 228 was the vote. So you had 215 Democrats, but we needed Republicans to vote with the Democrats to pass it. So it was certainly done in a bipartisan way. I thank all the Republicans and all the Democrats that worked together, because I knew all of them were working in a very productive way. And it just showed you that 6 progressive far left, to them, the politics was more important than the needs of their area, because I can assure you, every part of the country needs the infrastructure repairs that we're going to do in this bill. And they voted against it. And Republicans voted against it too. I don't know how they're going to explain it.
Well, thank you again, Senator Manchin. We can't thank you enough for your good work on this. This is huge for West Virginia. We know we've got a part to play too now. Now that these federal dollars are coming down, we've got to make sure on a state level that they are spent responsibly with a plan, as you said. And we're committed to doing that in a bipartisan way with our colleagues like you did at the federal level. So we thank you for joining us. We thank the media for joining us so we can get this good news out there to the state of West Virginia. We hope everybody has a good and safe week.
Well, thank you, Stephen. We appreciate it. Appreciate you having me. And I hope you all hold everybody accountable, all the agencies accountable to be responsible for distributing this money in the most productive way for our state. Thank you.
Thank you,
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you.